Okay. Good morning. Or
Yeah,
good
good
evening.
morning to you. How's the coffee?
Well, I haven't even poured it yet, but it's waiting for me right here. I thought I would follow. I'd follow your lead on that. You can pour your wine, and I'll pour my coffee.
Yeah, we just came prepared. We didn't want to waste too much time, with our whole routine.
That's right.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, really? Because that's one of my favorite parts.
Well, hopefully we'll work through this one, and we could open another. So.
Oh, well, I can't have wine because it's still, morning here. So I thought I would drink my coffee out of a wine glass. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully it won't shatter on me. I don't think the coffee is that hot now. So there you go. Look at that.
I like it.
So it's so good to talk to you guys finally. I've been so enjoying our messages on Instagram. So
So you're like the first person from this world of online fragrance that we're speaking to directly like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we've messaged people in lives before, but we've never like fully interacted with anybody online.
There you go.
So
there you go. So I'm a real person.
There it is.
Well, I'm very excited to be talking to you.
Basically, is what it comes out.
Oh, come on. No, I was
nervous.
thinking you guys are like Perfume royalty to me because
No.
I never miss one of your videos now, and I'm still working my way through the backlog because I only really discovered your channel.
Oh man, there's a lot now.
Yeah, I actually can't believe it. So we have like 29.
No, we have like 30 videos. 30 now. Videos. Yeah,
and we've released like 3 in the past 2 days.
I know, we've been going a little nuts.
Yeah. So
yeah, you have. You've got a new little format where you just have like a mini stink. I like it.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying something new.
It's it's kind of hard to make everyone happy, right? Some people like long stuff.
We've sort of found that we shouldn't really try to, but it's just a nice platform to have just like different discussions about.
Yeah.
So basically our tangents just like in one video form.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it when people mix things up. I don't think you have to stick to the same format all the time. So it's one thing to have a format that people. Sorry, I'm just gonna move this computer because the Monstera is hanging over the camera.
Yeah, you're a plant person,
huge.
aren't you?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Well, it's only a recent thing. So it's a COVID thing, I think, for me, because I got so sick of even though we weren't really locked down for that long. I mean, here in Brisbane, I think we had maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I'm not sure how long we were actually locked down for. It wasn't very long. But I have been working from home for pretty much a year now, and I'm sick of my indoor space. And so I just thought, what's a way I can, and it is actually really nice. It's a nice, healthy sort of thing to do to sort of, try and keep something else alive rather than just be sniffing perfume all the time, which I do that as well, obviously. But
I mean, we've done the plant thing. You've done. So Camille's really done the plant thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed we're a little obsessive. The plant thing was, I had 100 plants at one point.
More than that.
Wow.
Yeah, and now
that's amazing.
The remnants of like whatever survived, and they're just looking kind of sad, like kill me.
So how did 100 plants come about? Did you just go on a buying frenzy and were buying plants without knowing if you could keep them alive yet, and then they died off, or did you get rid of some, or what happened there?
I just basically bought a ton of books about plants and how plants think, and some botanical science and how to keep houseplants in an apartment, just the whole gamut. And I was just really fascinated by it because I've never really kept plants before. And then I started buying up a bunch of stuff and seeing what would survive. And lo and behold, after all that experimentation, the things that have survived are the classic houseplants. So there's a reason for it.
Yeah. But, you went a little bit, I don't want to say nuts, but you really got into the Latin words and the roots and, how to really kind of next level.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
Well, Matt and I argue over the pronunciation of some of them because I will say, skindapsus is a common one. He thinks it's syndapsus, and I say it's skindapsus.
I say skindapsus,
yeah. So anyway, we like to have a little argument or debate about the pronunciations of different plants. But it's funny, if you'd asked me a couple of months ago, I probably would have been able to take you around my house and name every single plant. But now I've kind of forgotten because I've stopped obsessing over how to look after them now, because before, because I did kind of go through a little bit of a buying spree over winter and started buying lots of plants, and because I wanted every space filled with plants. And then I had a panic about 2 months ago going, oh crap, like what happens if these don't survive? I think I might have overdone it here. This is not like Perfume, Cherie. It's not a case of just sticking it in a cupboard and forgetting about it.
Yeah.
So I stopped buying, and then I was, whenever I'd buy something, I was really obsessing about how often do I have to water this, and what conditions does it like, and then because there's certain plants that I would keep in the bathroom and stuff because they liked more humidity, although I live in Queensland, so it's humid here anyway. And then I sort of started moving things around, and then I lost track of what was what. And then I just went, well, if they live, they live. If they don't, they don't. And now I just, when it comes to watering, I basically just stick my finger in the soil, and if it's dry, I water it. If it's not, I don't.
Less is more. Less watering is better than overwatering.
Yeah, I've killed a couple by overwatering for sure.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of people, they kind of see houseplants as a bit kind of like disposable. Like people they have them there, then they die, and they just get a new one. Which is kind of sad, but
that's a bit sad. Yeah, I want mine to live for age because I want mine to become these massive things that cover an entire wall. And if you want to buy them like that, it's a bit expensive. So I prefer to grow them. But I've been propagating lots of things lately.
Yeah.
So how
take your hobby seriously, Cherie? I love it.
Well, you use the right word. I do get obsessive about things. I get something in my mind, and then all of a sudden I want to know everything about it, and and try everything. So yeah, definitely. So which sort of leads me to, I guess, the perfume thing, because I'm curious to know, Camille, your background with perfume, because you seem to have a lot of knowledge, and I couldn't quite work out if it was you've studied it at some point, or you've worked in the industry, or if you are just really well read and have tried lots of things. So I'm curious to know.
So it started with just reading as much as I possibly could. So I just it's changing now, but it's really hard to get information about, especially making perfume and that kind of thing. So I just bought every book I could get my hands on the subject, and I just read them cover to cover. And then I was like, okay, well, I am interested in exploring vintage fragrances and all this stuff, and training my nose, because I became acutely aware of how inadequate I was or how little I used my nose in a deliberate way, And then I just found all these classes through the Institute for Art and Olfaction in LA. And they are awesome, and they've sort of been on my radar, but because of COVID, they started doing online classes, and
they hadn't done that
affordable
before, right?
They haven't, And so basically, for over a year now, I've been taking at least weekly perfume-related classes, and it's been so cool. Because we'll just be in class and we'll have 5 materials that we smell for 2 hours, and just everyone gives their impressions, and we learn about the terminology, the words used to describe things.
I'm so jealous.
It's really cool. I really love it.
And there's people from all over that are taking them, right?
It's so international. Yeah, it's really fascinating. And so I've noticed in my notes, just updating my notes on certain materials, how much I've improved in just my ability to put words to what I'm smelling, which is a skill that can be learned, and it's difficult at first.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly noticed it just kind of being next to you, while you're kind of learning things, and even just how you're kind of talking about new fragrances that we smell. The vocabulary around it is so hard to kind of, to get there, but like you have it, and it's kind of intimidating, especially like if we're making a video and she's just like going off and, talking about the notes and it's this molecule, that molecule. And I'm just kind of like,
no,
here for the ride. And then like, I'll rewatch videos. Cause like, when you're making a video, like I can't necessarily always like kind of take what you're saying and like really process it, because you're like on the camera. So I'll rewatch it. I'm like, you're making like really great points. I'm like, I learned something. I was like, I was there in the video, but I learned something watching.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Studious. Like she has notebooks with just
tons of, I'm just the nerd.
Yeah, writing things out and what this smells like. And,
and my goal is eventually to make my own fragrances. But I've learned very quickly that, it's such a huge learning curve just to even begin to think of doing that. So I've just been studying and taking my time with it. And eventually I hope to have something I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, and so you mentioned, I just want to rewind us a couple of seconds there, because you mentioned when you were talking about the art and olfactive courses you were doing, did you say they were international?
Yeah, anyone can take them. They're all online. I mean, provided you don't mind if you're in a, very different time zone, being, getting up at funny hours, but it's but they send recordings at the end of it. So even if, you sign up, you can like still take the class on your own time. And it's been an invaluable resource for me, because there's only so much you can learn from books, especially with, such a sort of secretive industry in practice, So,
yeah, that's right. I mean, I've been the same. And I started with a very sort of entry level book, which was the Karen Gilbert one, where she just tries to step you through how to train your nose. And it's she's from the UK, and she's got courses online and stuff like that. But when I went in and started looking for all these courses, and I found one actually from a French perfume school, which wasn't that expensive, and they would send you out this entire kit. But I just thought, that was sort of at the beginning when I was really starting to deliberately learn about this stuff, because I've been into perfume for a couple of decades, but I've never really, I haven't been in a dedicated, I want to learn what it is that I like and what I don't like and why I like it and don't like it, or how these notes interact with each other. That only really sort of started in the last few years, so it's still very new to me. And I know I have a habit of getting into things and going absolutely nuts. And so I thought, well, I already have most of the perfumes there anyway, but it was more, I just thought I might over-investing by signing up for a course that's, that I may
that's what's cool about these classes. I mean, they're available on a sliding scale. So you just like pay what you can, and they're like, basically their whole mission statement is to be accessible. So it's the cheapest or most affordable option out there for perfume education that I know.
However, the kicker is the ingredients. The ingredients,
right? For buying the materials, it's not a cheap hobby whatsoever. No. Even less so in the perfume creation side of things. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I reached out to someone, a sort of well-known perfume person in the industry here in Australia a couple of weeks ago, and said, can you recommend where I should source some of this stuff from? Because I really wanted to, I've sort of been using essential oils and things, which is not a good judge of, necessarily of how things smell. And so I sort of wrote to this guy and I said, do you think you could, advise me on where I should source some raw materials from, so that I can really sort of get an understanding from it? And he told me about, which you mentioned then, I was watching another video of yours and you mentioned it, which was the, there's a website where you
Perfumer's Apprentice?
That's it, yes. Yeah, and so I did go on there and have a look, and they can't send everything to me, because obviously there's stuff that has alcohol in it and they can't ship it. So there's things, but they do have packs that they can send internationally. So I'm signing up for one of those, which should be really good.
There's a supplier in Australia. The name escapes me, but I'll send you a message with the name of it.
Okay, great.
They have pretty much all the basic stuff there.
Oh, nice. Great. Thanks. Yeah, so that's been the hard part for me, is trying to work out, because I mean there's lots of things online where they claim you can get raw materials and stuff, but I don't know how to judge what's good quality and what's just crap, So, and when you're online, it's really hard to differentiate. So I appreciate that.
You've been smelling, so you've been a fragrance fan for decades.
Yes, because
how did that
I'm
start?
in my 40s. So
I'm
it
almost
actually
in my
started.
40s, though.
Yeah. So it started actually with my dad giving me a little vial of 4711. I think when I was about 8. And it started before that because my mother has an obsession with crystal. So it's a family thing that we have our little things that we get obsessed about and we just go nuts. So she has cupboards full of crystal, which just drives me bonkers.
That's awesome.
Which if it would drive me bonkers if it was in my house, but now I have plants, so it's the same thing. But she has cupboards and cupboards of crystal, and it all looks very pretty and everything, but she has to clean it every year and it's just a massive headache. But she had this crystal perfume bottle on her nightstand, which had at one point had perfume in it. It had the little puffer thing with the hose coming off with a puff on the end. And I just loved this thing. And I'd always be trying to smell the thing because you could just very faintly smell what was, the little bit of dried perfume that was still on there. And it smelled really, I don't know what the perfume was and she couldn't remember either. But that kind of started it, I think. And then my dad gave me, and my mother, her signature fragrance is Youth Dew. So I would try and wear her perfume at, the ripe age of, 6 or 7. And I think they decided that they would give me something that was more age appropriate that, wouldn't
that's a big
smell too weird on me. Yeah. But, so Dad gave me this little bottle of 4711 and then, I don't know, I think I just treasured that little bottle and, made it last for a really, really long time. But then, I think my mum allowed me to buy my first bottle of my own perfume at 10, which was a bottle of the Le Fleur by, who made it? I've got the bottle there somewhere, but I can't. Sorry?
Is it Karen?
I don't think it was Caron. No, it was, where did I put the bottle? I just reorganized everything the other day. I can't find anything. I'll think of it. But it was a fairly easily accessible perfume at the time, and it just smelled like potpourri. I've got to say it correctly. But it was really nice, and I loved that perfume. But that kind of started it, and then over time, I haven't always owned like lots and lots of perfume because I could never afford it. But as I got older and I could afford it, I used to just buy more bottles. But now I'm trying to slow down. But that's how it started, really. And then I studied chemistry. So I'm a chemistry graduate, and I remember being in the labs, and whenever we had a lab where we would mess around with aldehydes and ketones, and we'd make nice smelling things. I always thought that was fun. But I at one point I did actually want to. I did have a thought about maybe studying how to make perfumes and stuff like that, but I didn't even realize that there were fragrance companies that you could go work for, but they weren't in Australia anyway, so it would have required me to have to leave Australia, which at that time just seemed impossible.
So my uncle actually worked for Givaudan, a big perfume house, but I was such a little kid at the time. I just didn't have any, it didn't mean anything to me. Yeah. But I remember him bringing back like little bottles of stuff with stickers on it, like Polo Blue written on it. So he had like all this stuff from work, and he would just mix it himself because he had all this stuff. So we had tons of this stuff, and it was all my grandmother's basement, and it never really meant anything to me. And I kind of want to ask him about it, but we have like this like weird family thing. My dad doesn't really talk to him anymore. My grandmother's dead, so. But I'm like, why wasn't I into fragrance then?
I know.
I was like 7, so it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going to the chemistry thing, I kind of am a little bit of a chemistry nerd. Like I always like want to know like what's happening in the fragrance,
like
maceration,
cosmetic chemistry.
Like what is that? Like I love learning about cosmetic chemistry.
Yeah.
I just love talking about sulfates and silicones and like I love it.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
All my products, he has to look at the ingredients of all my products, and he's like, that's bullshit. Like,
I just I don't know why I just got into this oddly, like this whole chemistry thing. So
yeah, it's fascinating.
It really is. There's
it's
a lot
really
of
the
science.
Intersection of like science and art. So that's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a lot more to perfumery than just a recipe of ingredients. It's it's understanding how they go together. It's like cooking, it's understanding how the flavors work together, and wine really as well. So so are you both originally from New York, or?
I'm born and raised here. Chris is born and raised not too far off in New Jersey.
Yeah, right. I've lived here for 13 years. So pretty much my whole adult working life.
Yeah, after 10 years, you're a New Yorker, I'd say.
Yeah. But I grew up about an hour and a half from here in New Jersey, just the other side of the river. Yeah.
I've actually been there.
In New Jersey?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I actually didn't think it was so bad. When I went there, I was expecting to, I don't know. I somehow had it in my head that it was all a very that New Jersey was like this industrial place. But where I ended up, at a friend's place, it was very, very nice. It was very pleasant and very picturesque. And it wasn't that far. I mean, I jumped on a bus from, somewhere in Manhattan, and it took maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And so it wasn't too bad.
Yep. Yeah. So
as far as commutes go.
Yeah. It's pretty funny though, the whole kind of like native New Yorker thing. A lot of people that, when you move to New York City from like the suburbs, you tend to kind of like move with other people that are doing the same thing. And you meet a lot of these same people when you start working, and everyone's coming from somewhere. And then when they meet someone, they're like, wait, you were born and raised here?
Yeah, they're like,
that's a thing?
I've lived here for 5 years. I've never met anyone who was born here. And I'm like, there are plenty of us, I swear. Like,
yeah, kind of funny.
It's just a very transient city.
Yeah, I it's so strange. When I was there, I didn't feel really like a tourist at all, because even though I obviously was, but I didn't feel like a tourist, because it's a bit like Australia in the sense that there's so many different people there that you don't, you just sort of blend in with everybody else because everyone's so different and they've all come from everywhere. So it's very strange.
If you're me, I have just like the most vanilla story in the world, guy from suburbs moves to New York. The end. So interesting.
Second generation, like pretty much everyone I know is like first or second generation.
But my father was born in Brooklyn, and he moved to Jersey when he was young. Yeah.
But isn't that pretty much everyone's story anywhere you live, though? I mean, in Australia, it's a bit the same too. Although Perth, where I sort of spent most of my teenage to adult life, they're very insular there, actually. They don't really like people coming in from interstate. So, and they're very defensive of their city. It is a beautiful city. So if you ever get a chance to go there, it's great, but it's very far from everything. So they do tend to be a little bit sort of insular in their thinking sometimes. And I was guilty of that too until I moved to the East Coast and went, actually, there's a whole world here and it's not so bad after all. But I think that's pretty much reminiscent of most people's story. I mean, I don't actually think I know anybody who lives in the town or city that they grew up in. Everyone's moved somewhere at some point. So
yeah, it's kind of strange. Like being from like a smaller town, I feel like my town that I grew up in was very creepy in that way. Like I was like a weirdo for leaving. They're like, you're going to New York? They're like, why? They're like, all of our grandparents and everything left that place to come here. Like why? Like they just didn't get it. And so many people, like I go back there and it's kind of like a time capsule. Yeah. Like everyone, like I run into like these people I've been seeing since elementary school, like in the store, and they're just like, yeah, I'm still here. I'm like, What?
And strangely enough, I'm familiar with the little town he's from because my grandparents, I would go every weekend to visit them, and they lived in his town.
Is that crazy?
Wow.
And so when I found out he was from there, I was like, wait, I know that place. I don't know.
So
You don't.
kind of technically known each other for a really, really long time. Then.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's so cute. So how long? When did you guys meet each other officially? I guess
3.5 years ago.
So July 3rd, it will be 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well done, Chris. Well done.
Yeah. I know.
And I'm curious. I mean, I know I'm jumping around here, but I'm also really curious about the wall behind you. That's the wall. That's the wall I associate with you. But I was watching your video on the Essence sample pack that you got the other day, which I watched it the other day. Obviously, you filmed it ages ago, but I was going, "Oh my God, where's the wall? It's not there."
Yeah.
So you're pretty artistic, Camille, and you have a whole Instagram channel associated with the art that you create. So do you have any story about that?
Not really. I mean, this is, a lot of people assume this is like a fake backdrop, but it's real yarn.
It's real yarn.
And
Yarn everywhere.
I basically use this to make portraits. So I made one of both of us.
Yeah.
I made just like a bunch of them, and I just taught a class for Domestika where I like teach people how to make portraits using yarn. So it's just like, I don't know, I have a million sort of side gigs, and that's one of them.
Yeah. So, she's being very modest. So you went to school, you were a fine art student, right? And you also studied basketry in France and Denmark.
Yeah, I have a very eclectic craft background.
She makes furniture, right? Out of rattan willow. She grows her own willow to make baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She can paint, she can draw, she can do anything. She'll never say this. And I'm not talking like Holly Hobby kind of stuff. I'm like,
all right.
Stuff that you could, that people
pay for.
Yes.
Yeah, so what I do for a living is basically for stop motion animation, like commercials usually. Because big companies are the who can afford that kind of time and labor. I make like little props and stuff and puppets and sets for these animated commercials. So that's like my day job.
Yeah. That is really cool. Actually, I hadn't quite grasped that that's what you did for a living. So that's very cool.
Yep.
So it's like on a freelance basis. And then I have a bit of a, art practice, like a personal practice on the side. And then like, a bunch of side gigs as you do on jobs and all that.
Yeah.
You do get them,
Yeah.
Which is,
well, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess because once you start doing stuff like that, word gets around anyway. So that just sort of leads to more work. It's kind of like any freelancing thing, hey?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of shameless self-promotion on the internet,
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Jobs, so, yeah.
Especially when you're actually talented. So
well, that's the thing. That's why you get work, is because there's a lot of people that want this kind of the work you do, or they think
it's hard to get your foot in the door
artists,
with this kind of thing.
But a lot of them aren't any good.
Well, it's just it happens to suit me because I have an eclectic set of skills.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
So how did you get back into perfume stuff? Like, I don't really, like, I'm trying to think in my head like when it happened, because Camille is the one that got me into it. Right?
Yeah.
Fragrance. And I just remember like, we're hanging out and you're like, oh, I got this like sample, smell this. And I actually don't know why you started smelling things. You always
wondered
had
this
scent
myself
in your kind of past.
Yeah.
But what made you start doing it again? I don't really know this.
I suspect, I wondered this myself. And thank you, Fritz. And I suspect that it has something to do with going back to the stop motion gigs. I did one where I worked on little Instagram advertisements for a bunch of perfumes. So there was L'Interdit, there was, of course, Creed Aventus, and Tom Ford, like all these different perfumes. And I sort of wonder, like, was that like subliminally worked into my mind? And like, you know, I don't know. Because I was looking at and thinking about perfumes like for a while there.
Right.
Maybe. But before that, a good 4 years before that, I got really interested in natural perfumery and read Mandy Aftel's book, Essence and Alchemy. And really got into just with essential oils, just like blending little things, not really seriously, because I was a student at the time. I couldn't afford to do it seriously.
Yeah.
But now that, you know, I'm working, I can really indulge in this sort of curiosity, right? Because unfortunately, there's sort of a paywall there.
Yeah, there's a hurdle.
It's a lot of money, but
it's not a cheap hobby.
Yeah.
So at what point, Sherry, did you really, you know, think I want to make videos on YouTube about fragrance? I'm so curious about like other people's.
Yeah.
It didn't really come from me, actually. It was Matt's idea.
It was Chris's idea.
But
I started the Instagram account, and I thought when I started my Instagram account that was going to be something new, because I thought, oh, there's no one else doing this. And then, of course, once you realize that there's this whole community out there, I'd never really played around on Instagram before, so I had no idea. And I just started doing it on Instagram, and then I don't know, it was Matt, because I would watch. That's when I started realizing there's people on YouTube talking about this stuff, and so I would watch the videos, and then Matt just said one day, why don't you do it? And I'm going, I don't know anything. How am I going to talk about perfume on the internet? And he said, oh, you know, plenty. He said, you've been doing this for a while. Why don't you just get on there and do it? And then I posted one video, I think late 2018. I think it was New Year's Eve 2018, which was just me. I wasn't on the camera. It was just me videoing the perfumes. And so I think I was going through my favorites for the year or something. And then I really didn't touch it again until February last year, which is when I think Robes 08 was running that competition to encourage people to start their YouTube channel in the fragrance community. And so I did that, and that's sort of what started it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a really nice thing for them to do, to encourage people to start, I suppose, because a lot of people have been thinking about it, but they just needed that little extra push to actually turn the camera on and start doing it. So I was very nervous about it, actually, and I still do get a little bit nervous. My nervousness isn't about filming videos, it's about doing live streams. I'm thinking, you know, if I think about it, and I try not to think about it, but you know, when I speak at conferences and things like that, I get really nervous about public speaking. I hate public speaking.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And then I'm thinking, but yet here I am signing myself up to sit down and speak live on camera in front of pretty much anyone in the world. So, you know, it doesn't really compute, but it feels safer because
you're a real natural, though. I have to say, I have so much admiration for anyone who has a solo channel, because
that's got to be so hard.
I lean so heavily on Chris and like the banter.
The dialogue, it is nice when there's another person there, I have to admit.
To make it by yourself, I think, is super brave. You do a beautiful job of it.
Yeah.
You really do.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. But there's a real vulnerability about it.
There is.
More so alone, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, also, you know, being a woman or a female on the internet has its, as we know.
Woman's good.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, and all the kind of stuff that might come along with that.
Yeah,
definitely. Look, I've been really lucky. I've just somehow been really lucky, and the people who watch my videos are always really supportive and happy, and you know, they genuinely just want to share their thoughts about fragrance and stuff. I haven't really had and maybe touch wood, but I haven't really had a lot of hate or anything like that. It's just been really, just general conversation, and it's been really fantastic. It's been a good experience for me. I haven't really had any negative experiences yet, and hopefully it'll be a while before I do.
Positive on our end as
it
well.
Has, yeah.
I definitely a few bad eggs, but like, who cares?
I thought we were going to be bullied a little bit more. And I'm like, where's all the internet bullies that I hear about? And everyone's just pretty, on, in the community of other folks making videos,
it's
and also just the people
community
that are watching them. So many people that just reach out and they're just like, hey, I think you'd like this.
Yeah, let me send
you a sample of this. Like, I'm like,
I know, how cool is that?
Nice.
Yeah.
So
and people are just really excited to like have someone to talk to about fragrance, because it's just like, I guess it is a very niche interest.
Yeah, it must be kind of hard because we really only have ourselves to talk about things and a couple other people, so it's not that common. And I think some of what people have been saying to us is you guys are so lucky that you have each other to talk to.
Yeah. Well, you are, because I suspect that the reason why it was suggested that I do this is because Matt was just sick of me talking to every time. If I go up to him now and say, can you just smell this, or what do you think of this, he literally rolls his eyes and goes,
that's like your sister.
Yeah, I live with my little sister. Her name's Rose, so we want to do a Rose video with her in it, and she's just gonna shit on all our fragrances. It's gonna be great. But
didn't your sister come on before, or was that a different sister?
My other sister.
Right, okay.
But I live with her, and every time I have something on, she's like, it's so loud, like, ugh. Like, she really hates on my fragrances all the time. And so I understand it. Oh, and I'm not allowed to ask her, like, oh, what do you think of this? She's like, no, you're not allowed to ask me anymore. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, she'll come around.
She will. Yeah.
I have a feeling. Make a convert out of her.
Yeah. Well, maybe you just need to source some fragrances that you think she'll like, and then just draw her in that way. Get her really hooked on it, and then she'll, be wearing your stuff before you know it.
I feel like
it's just little sister syndrome. She likes to be contrary.
Right. A little bit of that.
Yeah.
See, I had the opposite experience. My sister is older than I am, and she was always the contrary one. I like to think of myself as the leveler of the family.
Right.
Dear, oh dear. So I just want to clarify for anyone who's joined, I'm not drinking wine at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is coffee, but I just wanted to,
this is
feel like I'm part of the...
Yeah, this is COVID time, so if you are drinking wine, there's no rules. There's no rules. It's like being in an airport. If you want a beer and sushi at 7 a.m.,
yeah, go for it.
You do it.
Well, airports are a unique place, though. I mean, airports, you legitimately can just eat and drink whatever you like in airports, because nobody knows what time of the day it is for you. So
that's right. Especially those long flights, to the other side of the world, like. Your body has no idea like what time it is, and your brain is fogged.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of miss that, actually. I didn't particularly like it at the time, and now I miss having that feeling.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to Paris last May.
Was it? Yeah, May.
And then we pushed it to September, and then we pushed it indefinitely.
Yeah,
but we had this whole fragrance kind of.
We were gonna go be nerdy about fragrance in Paris.
Yeah.
I know. I had the same thing. We were meant to go to France last year, and it didn't happen. And we were going to go to Grasse, and there was another place further. I can't remember what the other place was. Matt has a friend that lives somewhere near Grasse, so it wasn't exactly in Grasse, but I was like, I could get there, and I was thinking, I'm totally going to go there and do a course or something, but it didn't happen. So, Eve, I don't recommend drinking coffee out of your wine glass, because it turns out that there's a good reason why we drink coffee out of mugs, and that is it keeps it warmer for longer. My coffee's going cold very quickly. So I do miss traveling, and but then I've got perfumes to remind me of my travels, so there is that. At least it brings back all the nice memories.
Yeah, do you do the thing where you wear a specific fragrance on trips so that you can like remind yourself of that trip?
Sometimes. I don't always necessarily have a dedicated fragrance for a particular trip, although I have done it for short trips and things like that. But usually what happens is if it's a longer trip and it's overseas, I end up buying fragrances while I'm there. So those fragrances tend to be the ones that remind me of those trips. But there was one when I went to Spain a couple of years ago. There's one that I bought. Well, there's a couple that I bought there. But it was actually the one that I bought in Sevilla, which was a Spanish perfume house, which I don't know if you can even get them online. That's the one that takes me back to my trip. And Gris Dior, because I was wearing a decant of Gris Dior the whole time as well. So I was sort of alternating between those two. But yeah, I don't normally go. And when I went to Japan last year, just before COVID hit, Santal Majuscule ended up being my scent of that holiday, and now when I put that on, it reminds me of that. But I don't think I meant that to happen. It's just that whatever I'm sort of really attracted to at a particular time, and then that sort of ends up being the scent of the holiday. But do you do that?
No, but really? I've noticed that people in the fragrance community definitely talk about doing that.
Yeah.
Just to like have these scent memories. I thought it was kind of cool, like a little brain trick, you know?
Yeah, it is. Although it could backfire, because if it ends up, if some disaster ends up happening on your holiday, you could ruin a really good perfume.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should keep one that you really hate as well, in case that's happening.
Or that you're marginal on, yeah.
Bask in the
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, I got a tip from a talk I sat in on. Where Neil Chapman, who like spends half of his time in Japan, he says that you can find like amazing deals on vintage perfumes in antique shops in Japan, because people just like go to France, buy up these French perfumes, bring them back, and don't wear them because there's just like a different like scent culture, right? And where it's a little more subtle. And so they just wind up in these like charity shops, and you could get like these beautiful rare fragrances for like nothing. Crazy. That's reason alone to go, but of course Japan is amazing on its own.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing, we didn't spend a lot of time in the cities when we went, because we were there for skiing mostly, much to my distaste, because I'm not a very good skier and I don't enjoy fearing for my life several times a day. But there was, before I went on Instagram, I posted saying, I'm going to Japan. Anyone recommend any perfumeries or something I can check out? And then there was this, I can't remember the name of the person now. That's terrible, but I'll remember, her name will come to me. But she responded and said, yes, you have to go check out this perfumery and this perfume house. It's a Japanese perfume house and they do really good stuff. And then I didn't end up getting to see them because we literally had one day in Tokyo. So didn't quite get there, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love to go back, and that would be cool, actually, wouldn't it? We should meet in Japan when this whole thing is over.
Actually, yeah, that's perfect. Zoom together.
I'd
love to go vintage perfume shopping with you guys.
Yeah. I had the best time.
Yeah, I haven't been.
Yeah.
It's really cool. We'll put that on the agenda for when COVID allows us to travel again.
I know.
So, Chris, I had a question for you too, which was you're a bit of a wine buff. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I think you know your stuff. Don't be modest about it.
I know more than like the average person, but I'm no expert.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a passion, just like perfume is for us, right? So, so what I guess what so you drink more red than white, and I noticed you're drinking a white wine today, so I'm curious to know what it is.
Orange wine.
What's an orange wine?
Yeah, it's sort of all the rage, this orange wine. We're like, what's the deal with this stuff? And
so it's an Italian one.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Italian. Well, they're the ones who started the whole orange wine thing, didn't they? Or
so I was actually talking to the sales assistant at the place where I got this today, and I said, is this an Italian thing? I thought the same thing. She said it's actually from Eastern Europe, and it just started to kind of work its way, over and down to Italy. So there's a lot of it in Italy as well. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I thought it was Italian. I think I just associated that because most of the orange wines I've seen and tasted have been from, well, pretty much all of them that I've seen and tasted have been from Italy. But there was this little restaurant in Melbourne years ago. It's been closed for a few years now, but I went there for a very extensive lunch. In fact, it was my ex-boyfriend had sent me there because I was there on Valentine's Day, so he couldn't spend Valentine's Day with me because I was working in Melbourne at the time, and so he sent me off to this restaurant, and we had been there together before, so it was like my little Valentine's Day gift. And they put me up at the back of this little courtyard under this canopy, and I had the whole table to myself, and they just brought me wine and food, and I tried all these orange wines. Their thing was the orange wines, and I had to tell them to stop bringing me orange wine because it really wasn't my thing. I didn't particularly like it that much. It was weird. Fusty for me, yeah. It's very strange flavour.
Right, it almost doesn't register as wine.
It's strange. It's almost more like a cocktail the way it smells.
Strange. And I had some that were, they were really cloudy as well, and it was just it was very strange stuff. But anyway. So you like the wine, but I'm curious to know, Chris, what on earth? So if you didn't really get into perfume until you met Camille, what did you wear before you met Camille?
Yes. What did I wear? Like perfume wise. I thought you meant like clothing. Well, nothing. I wore nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And
there you go.
Yeah, I kind of had a weird story. I think I talked about this in maybe a video here and there, but I never really wore anything as in high school or anything. Like my brain just like wasn't there. I was, I played my guitar. I was just like, doing my own thing. It wasn't a thing that really, struck me. And then like when I went to college, I was in like this like kind of like this weird like Anglophile like kind of like phase where like I just like loved everything British. And like I was like listening to like a lot of this old like 60s British bands like the Yardbirds, and I'm like, oh, like I want to wear a fragrance. I don't know what came over me to wear a fragrance, but I was like, okay, I'm going to wear a British one, so I'm going to wear Burberry. And I went to a Sephora, and I picked out one that I liked, and I don't remember what it was called. I think it's Burberry for Men. It's not the one with like the tartan pattern on it. It's kind of like a gold thing. And I used to wear this in college, and I don't remember like how much I was spraying on myself, but I don't think it was all that much. And while I was in college, this website came out called Facebook. So Facebook was brand new when I was still in school. And there was like these apps you could put, and there's an app called the Honesty Box where somebody could write you something anonymously.
Right.
And like, essentially
sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is great. So I put it on there, and the comment I got was, it was something like you dress cute, but you wear too much cologne. And I was like, that's it. Never again. Never again. Out the window.
Now, these days, you'd be getting the big thumbs up for overspraying, wouldn't you?
I know. I can't even... The thing is, I can't even remember what it smelled like. I don't even know why, like, I decided to do it, but it went away just as fast as it came. So I wasn't, like, really invested in this. I didn't love this fragrance. And I kind of like, as I got a little bit older, I was like, all right, so this person told me I wear too much cologne. And I kind of associated fragrance with kind of like almost like a sleazy kind of like car salesman kind of thing. Like someone trying to impress, in like a very like phony way. I don't know why I thought this, but that's what I thought. Like, oh, like you're trying to impress someone, by spraying this on you. But it just comes across as kind of very surfacey,
But I think your first fragrance after all that was probably Pinot, right?
Yeah. So,
Clubman, which is just like an aftershave.
Splash. And I was like, this is really nice and fresh. And I liked it. I was like, if
very oak mossy, powdery.
I was like, I could wear something like this.
Yeah.
And then you just started smelling things and you were sticking them under my nose.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, there's a lot more to fragrance than just kind of what I was smelling in the 90s when I was, in high school. Which I tend to just not love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was fragrance.
Yeah.
And you kind of immediately gravitated towards these very classic fragrances that people would typically say, like, oh, this smells like old lady-ish, And right off the bat, that was like, yes, that's my style.
I didn't have
which is interesting.
I didn't have any of those kind of I don't know, kind of references in my brain about any of that, So
yeah.
So now I smell like an old lady most of the time.
Don't we all? And we love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Love it. Yeah.
So, which actually I had a question that I had written down for this one because that's a perfect segue because I'm curious to know if there are any, can you name a modern perfume that you actually like, but you're not allowed to use modern formulations of old vintage perfumes?
Do you mean like designer or
anything, but just a modern perfume that's not, made and didn't originate as a vintage.
Yeah, all the artisan stuff we have.
Yeah.
So Incendo by La Curie is a wonderful fragrance that you can still get.
I mean, for me, it would be Bogue's Mai, right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Nice.
I absolutely love that fragrance. I could wear it every day and be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of, our channel has come to be associated with more vintage fragrances.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, but we also really love artisan fragrances.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are, new releases and not necessarily limited editions. So they're still available for sure.
Yeah, I really like Papillon Salome.
Yeah, everything by Papillon, basically.
Like, unbelievable.
Yeah. I've got Tobacco Rose on my wish list, but I do have Bengal Rouge, which I just really love. That's really gorgeous.
All stuff is so good.
So good.
I haven't tried all of them yet, so I've got to get some more samples. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. And actually, one of the people had commented on the post that I did on the community tab the other day, just saying, "Can we talk a bit more about artisan houses?" Because he was curious to know, or to learn about some more. He didn't have a specific question, but he just sort of said, "Can you talk a little bit about artisan perfume?" So maybe we could, just start diving into that. I don't have a lot in terms of artisanal. Is that how you say it? Perfumes. I mean, I've got lots of Tion Reintel. In fact, that my scent of the day today is one of hers. I'm wearing Winter Light today. Oh, scent of the day. I didn't ask.
That's right.
Most important question.
We're sampling at the moment.
Yeah, we have a lot to sample.
Well, an artisanal perfumer based in Vermont, Diane St. Clair, sent us all her fragrances.
Yeah.
And we are kind of blown away by them. And so we've been sort of working through them little by little, taking notes.
Yeah, so I have Pharaoh's Passion on, it's called. It's like it's kind of a spicy amber rose. There's like this beautiful bergamot coriander on top. It's lovely. It really is. All of her work so far of what we've been smelling is really great.
It's really great. Yeah.
Nice.
Gardener's Glove by her is amazing. It's like a tomato leaf leather type of situation. It's like the most joyful fragrance I've ever smelled, I think.
It's the perfect name for it. Like it, like just like a leather glove in like roots and soil.
Yeah,
it really seems like that. Yeah.
I have to admit, I do love fragrances that have that soil note to them, accord, or however they do. I don't know how they do it, but it I don't know. There's something about it that smells so good that, and it's one of those sort of, would you call it avant-garde? I don't know, but those sorts of notes that I actually am happy to wear as a perfume, not necessarily, because there's lots of things that I smell and I go, interesting, and they've managed to capture that really, really well, but I don't want to wear that as perfume. But for some reason, soil and green things, I'm there.
It's a really interesting thing that you brought up, though. I think there's a lot of fragrances out there that are, not classically composed, which is what I typically like. They're just different. They're structured different. They have those kind of strange accords in them. And it really kind of takes something, I don't know, extra to make me fall in love with them. And I was talking to you about this, about January Scent Project. A lot of January Scent Project's fragrances, I don't think they don't read to me as classically composed.
No, they're very, very bizarre.
They're very bizarre.
Really interesting and
but
really
just
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff out there. But if you make something weird and just like, interesting and like you want to wear it and like really spend time with it, that's just like, that's so kind of extra. And for someone like me to like a fragrance like that, I think says something, for other people that like things kind of like it's worth kind of looking at.
Totally. Yeah. And I don't know. The artisan market seems like, well, if we were to define it, I'm going to go with the Institute for Art and Olfaction's definition, which is that the owner of the brand is also the perfumer. So it's sort of like a one-person show.
Yes.
And when that's the case, you have a lot of freedom to do whatever the hell you want with your brand.
Exactly.
And that can go horribly wrong, and that can go And I kind of really like that gamble. And I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff that comes out of that unrestrained space, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these people have day jobs and they just sort of play around with this side gig. And so there's a lot of, it's not like you have to make something that's going to make everyone happy. You just have to explore something you're passionate about and sort of create this sort of idea, paint a picture. And I have a feeling that a lot of these artisan fragrances have such a strong point of view for that reason. They have something to say, and it's not meant to be mass appealing. It's just meant to be whoever is going to resonate with it. Really going to resonate with it,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you mentioned January Scent Project because I just ordered a sample set from them 2 days ago, I think. So I'm quite curious because I've been hearing a lot about them, but I've never smelled anything from them. So I'm quite curious.
John Biebel, he writes for Fragrantica, and he also teaches classes at the Institute that I just mentioned.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
And to answer your question, Viv Smack, so we just defined artisanal, and for indie, also by the IAO's definition, is something like zoologist, where it's a brand that's not owned by one of these big umbrella companies like LVMH, Estee Lauder, etc. So it's sort of independent in that regard, but they can hire perfumers just sort of on a freelance basis to make their fragrances. So that's how I would define indie.
Okay, that's interesting. So because I hadn't understood that distinction, and I had just assumed that indie perfumes were effectively what you call artisanal, artisanal. So,
there isn't a strict definition.
I know, but
that's what the IAO goes with, and I think makes the most sense to me. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good to know.
Yeah, the January Scent Project, really, really interesting stuff, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm keen to get that package, and I just ordered some stuff from Libertine as well. We can get Libertine fragrances here, so we talked about that a few days ago, I know. But we can buy Libertine perfumes here, but they're just sold out of the one that I want. So I ended up buying the oils directly from Libertine to see what they're like. And I'm curious to maybe play around with oils a bit more too at the moment. I've ordered a few from DSH as well. I can't wait. Wait for those to arrive. But March is so much for my low buy. March has actually been a pretty big month for me actually in terms of buying things. But I'm trying to buy more things that just aren't readily accessible, and so I'm just trying to buy small amounts of more interesting things, I suppose. But, And so how do you find out about your, when you're looking for, new fragrances or new perfumers, how do you find them? Because you've obviously found a few local ones there. Have they found you, or did you find them?
It's starting to happen on that end where people reach out to us and send us stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But typically, I guess, word of mouth,
Yep. Just
There's
Instagram posts. Like sometimes people will just post something, and what they write about it sounds interesting.
There's this really cool podcast, American Perfumer, and that's just like this guy who owns a shop by that name interviews a bunch of American perfumers, and that's been a really cool way to sort of get to know perfumers and discover brands and get to know their backstory, because you so rarely get to hear that kind of thing. And I heard about Diane St. Clair through that podcast, and she's got a really cool story. She's a dairy farmer up in Vermont. She makes like world-class butter that used by all the best restaurants in New York.
All the Michelin star places use her butter.
So she's got like amazing butter and amazing fragrances. You can't write that stuff. You can't make it up. It's pretty cool.
Yep. So that podcast has been good. Instagram.
I guess and like Fragrantica sometimes YouTube.
Yeah, sometimes there's some good articles there about new stuff.
Yeah.
Other YouTubers, obviously.
Yeah, it's been really good for discovering stuff I've never heard of. Is Michelle from the Udo Pantograph?
Yep. Yeah,
I don't know where she cares about half this stuff. But I'm just like, oh man, I'd love to try that mist poofer she keeps talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to check that out. She actually sent me the link to the her and Eve were talking about a particular perfumery or something that stocks a lot of this stuff that they source, and so she sent me the link to that the other day. I have not looked at it yet, Eve, because I'm too scared. Too scared what kind of path it's gonna lead me down at this point in time. But
that's definitely a thing. Like for us, it's like when we like actually want to sample things, I kind of like hope they're bad. Because,
I know, because we're like, oh, this is dangerous. Here we go again.
I want all of them. What do I do?
That's how I felt St. Clair stuff. I was like, here we go. This is going to be expensive.
I know. And it's one of those double-edged swords, because you try something and you like it and you want to buy a bottle so that you're always going to have it. But then you end up with so many bottles that you never look at them anyway, or there's, they sort of get lost amongst. I did used to have a system. I had a whole spreadsheet that I kept for years, where I used to track notes and stuff like that. But when I say years, I mean, the last probably 3 or 4 years. But then I lost it.
Oh, no.
I had a hard drive failure, and I thought it was backed up to the cloud, but somehow it wasn't. We haven't been able to find it. So sadly, I've lost all of that data. But I used to actually... I know Pep does it too, and I think Eve does it as well, where we actually we work through our perfume collection and just make sure we wear everything. But lately, since I lost the spreadsheet, I've just been freewheeling it. I haven't even tried to set up another spreadsheet yet, and I've really it's been an interesting exercise to sort of really see what I wear, because it's given me a sense of freedom too, I suppose, because when I was going through and going, okay, I'm going to wear this today because I haven't worn it for 6 months, I would feel kind of a pressure, I suppose, like I was being boxed in, and I had to wear something because I have it, I know I have it, but I haven't worn it. But now I'm just wearing things that I just really love. So it's been a very freeing exercise, I think.
Yeah.
I had that anxiety at first. I'm like, how am I going to decide what to wear on what day and all? But I'm pretty good about cycling through what I have. I consciously do that.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to get to a point where we like sort of buy less, or if we buy, it's more like vintage and stuff that's like a little more, finite.
But
at the beginning, I was definitely like, when you just start getting obsessed with something and you just like have this like, oh, gotta get it energy.
You gotta have it, yeah.
And so I think at the beginning, I bought a lot of things that I wouldn't have bought now, like had I known better now. So there's a lot of stuff in my collection that doesn't really get attention. I might just have to like resell a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But tastes change, which is really fascinating too.
Yeah, our criteria has gotten more a little bit strict for kind of both of us, I think, and just the styles that we like have kind of branched out in some ways but narrowed in others.
Yeah.
So and also like I think both of us, like, we don't really have to own every fragrance we like. Just because we like it doesn't mean we got to buy a bottle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's right. I mean, the samples that I have that I've really loved, or fragrances that I've really loved, and even if I have bought a bottle of it, I still have some of the samples of it. I'm going, I can always just go back and smell it if I want to. I think it's that thing of I really love this and I don't want to forget that I loved it, or it's weird.
I love it so much. Yeah, I know.
But at the end of the day, you can't own everything. You can't wear everything either because there's not enough hours in the day. I'm already wearing 3 or 4 perfumes a day, and I think that's probably the limit.
It's so really fascinating watching these like perfume addiction tag videos like yours. Because people don't really talk about their habits in terms of like wearing things.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, whoa, some people like cycle through a bunch of perfumes a day. And like, there's some days I don't wear perfume at all. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm curious about this perfume oil. How would you wear that?
Well, I would probably layer it underneath the actual perfume. So if I sort of think, or maybe I'd just wear it on my pulse points or something. I'm not really sure. I haven't really tried it yet. I haven't got it yet. I do have a couple of oils though. I do have an amber oil from I can't remember what the company's called. I think it was called something oud something. They do lots of ouds, and I bought some oud from them, and that did not go well. So I've since offloaded those, but I've kept a couple of the ones that they had. They had a rose one and an amber one, and so I just normally, because they sit closer to the skin, I just wear them. I put it a little bit on my arms, and I put some behind my ears, and that's how I do it. Sometimes I put it in my hair because it lasts longer, and you can do that without anyone getting upset about it because it's an oil, not an alcohol.
I sprayed my hair. I sprayed the sides of my hair.
Yeah, I sprayed my hair too.
Yeah.
I think we all do. I just don't like to admit it. But I don't think there's any special way that I wear perfume oils. I just rub them on and see how they go. And
played around with those. But
guitars, there's some like really beautiful sounding guitars out there, but I have like this, I just love to spray things.
There's something satisfying about that. Yeah,
there is. There is.
A lot of these oils, they are close, and I don't know if I put it behind my ears, am I going to smell it throughout the day? I don't know. So
we have to play more with guitars, though.
Yeah, we got to try them because some of them sound really beautiful. I think that's a pretty
dangerous rabbit hole as well.
But some of them are. Yeah, especially those oud ones. The oud ones get really expensive, but there's some other like fairly affordable ones. Like there's that guy Malevolence in the UK.
That's right. Yeah,
a lot of really
stuff on Etsy. I think.
Interesting sounding things, and they're not $3,000 like NSAR and
Yeah. That's the thing. It can get very, very expensive that way. But I think if you put it. I put it behind my ears because it gets warm there because I have lots of hair. So I find that it does, I do smell it throughout the day but I don't smell it constantly. And I think that's kind of the key to really smelling your fragrance all day long is to not bombard yourself with it. And it's been a hard lesson for me to learn, but I have learned it.
You get a nose neck if you're just smelling it too much. You just,
Yeah, and then you're gassing everybody else out because you keep reapplying. Not that I've had to worry about that since I've been working from home for so long. So anyway.
Actually, this Thursday marked 1 year for me of working from home. Last Thursday. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Wow, there you go.
It was crazy. I was like, this is not going to be bad. I'm going to work from the coffee shop for 2 days, and I'll be back on Monday.
I know, we were so naive. I had no idea. I was just like, I was still working well into April almost,
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty, well, I just got back to the office a couple of weeks ago and it felt like the first day of school,
I bet it did. Yeah.
And because all the faces had changed as well, we'd had turnover in staff, and I work for a big company, so most of the time you walk in there, you don't know who the hell anyone is because and most of the people, I'm the only one in my team based here. Everyone else is based in Western Australia, so I don't have a team to sit with, and we all hot desk, and so I never know. There's no one that I know, and it's really bizarre, But I went in there, and in addition to that, we've moved into a new building. So we're, again, it's just new teams have been shuffled around and stuff like that. So it's just really kind of weird. But I basically walked in there And I found, so our team is a subset of another team. And so I walked in there and I found the broader team that we're a part of. And I just sort of walked up to everyone and they went, oh, hi, can we help you? And I went, yeah, I'm new. And even though I've been working here for 2 years, but they didn't know me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to tell them I'm new. And and then they'll be nice to me, which they were really nice to me. But yeah, it was really, really bizarre. And but then I got sick. So I had to come home again because you're not allowed in the office if you've got a cold or a cough, especially if you've got a cough. So I'm sort of been at home again for 3 weeks and I was sort of a bit bummed out. I was bummed out about having to go back to the office because I was quite comfortable with just rolling out of bed and sitting at my desk. And now I'm sort of going, I want to go back to the office. So hopefully this week.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Back a little bit as well.
Yeah, I was on a gig and we were, being safe and everything, but I started getting a cough and I was like, oh shit. Like,
yeah.
And it's just a cold, but you can't explain to everyone that you walk by like, oh, it's just a cold.
Well, and it's different for you guys over there. I mean, here I say we don't have any cases, but there was a case announced, I think on Friday night, just south of the river in Brisbane. So in a hospital, no less. So they just locked down the whole hospital immediately.
Yeah.
But we have been so lucky that, if you get sick, it's very unlikely that you actually have anything. You still have to go get tested, but you don't, it's very unlikely that you're going to have anything serious. But I mean, I guess over there, it is still quite bad over there, right? So
yeah, I mean,
New York is
really, really good. And our numbers are better. But yeah,
it's been going down every day now.
I mean, of course, we'd like it to go faster, but it's been okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Even in the summertime, it was really low. I mean, the daily cases were, I don't know, almost like 0.5%, and at the height of it, it was 50%, 60%, of tested, positive testing. So now it's below 4% and kind of going down. So
yeah.
But, you wear the mask, you hunker down, you stay at home, and, hopefully things get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got Perfume to keep you uplifted in the meantime.
It's been a good thing to get into during this because it's almost kind of like the canary in the coal mine, these days. Because if you could smell,
that's right. The politics of anosmia, these days, but it's been a really good, this channel has been a really good hobby for us in quarantine because, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the part of, why we did the channel because we were talking about it, we think we have interesting things to say, and everyone kind of thinks they do. I'm like, oh, we should do a channel. And then it was kind of perfect when you're locked down and you have all these fragrances that you have things to say about. So. Yeah,
and then that's sort of our channel was the beginning of really engaging with the fragrance community.
Yes.
And it's been a very welcoming one. And it's the first time I've really had parasocial relationships, which is very bizarre, but very much of the time, I guess, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm starting to have dreams about FragComm. Slapping Sam 5.
It's very strange. It really is. Anyway, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I've definitely enjoyed watching you guys and will continue to do so.
Yeah,
but
likewise.
Yeah, it has been fun. And it's been fun because, a lot more people have started up over this last year just because they had nothing else to do. And it has been really good fun to watch everyone and learn everyone's approach, I guess, to Perfume.
Yeah, and there's so many.
There's so many. Sometimes you find someone, they're like, oh,
you don't have time. Yeah, you don't have time to watch everybody, unfortunately. But you can still listen to a few. I pretty much, I don't think it's very rare that I actually sit down and watch YouTube. I always just listen to it and end up doing something else. So it's when I post a big, long, rambly video, I just assume no one's watching it. I just assume if anyone's listening, they're listening. And so when I get comments of people going, stop rambling, and I'm going, But, you know, yeah, you just got to get on with other things. You don't have to sit there and listen to every single word. But anyway, I don't mind. All right. Well, I'm conscious that it's getting late there for you guys, and you're probably getting hungry for dinner or something. So we've gone over an hour. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on here and talking to me.
This was lovely. Hopefully we could do it again.
Yeah.
Well, we will be, in fact, in a few weeks' time. So
that's right. We're going to talk about vintage fragrances with Amina.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we'll shoot video together in Japan.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's a little bit further away, but we'll get there.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks. I will. Yep, about to take the dog to the park. She's going to have a good time. Yeah. Well, it's 11:15, so by the time we get back from the dog park, I reckon it'll be time for I can have a real drink then.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining. It's been great seeing you all just sort of commenting and having a chat amongst yourselves. Not too many questions today, but it was good fun. Have a great night, guys.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.